his main accomplishments as president, the main accomplishment domestically and the main accomplishment in foreign policy?
Well, in foreign policy, it'll be interesting to see. His main accomplishment, insofar as he was able, was to send a signal that America was for the rule of law. I don't even know how to rate him in foreign policy. I'll just say that frankly. I looked at him mainly economically. He signed the Kellog-Briand Pact banning war, which is regarded today as an object to be mocked. But it's also enjoying a renaissance, because what it is a legal attempt to get nations to agree through legal avenues to resolve conflict without going to war. Okay, it was less intrusive and had fewer of the sovereignty issues in Coolidge's view than the League of Nations, which had been rejected. It's kind of interesting. He did have gunboat wars, Nicaragua, Mexico, and I'm not sure they were handled that well, but many of them were legacy conflicts from a more big stick Theodore Roosevelt culture that proceeded before him. So Coolidge was cleaning up. I think his contribution on foreign policy, frankly, is to make the U.S. a model, city on a hill. He really believed that. If we're a model, that will help other nations to change and become republics, democracy as well. And that argument is a serious argument. It's not a joke. On the domestic side, where he focused most of his energy was the health of the city on a hill economically. So the war involved a huge government expansion. There was a depression in the early 20s. That's actually the depression that F. Scott Fitzgerald is describing in Great Gatsby, the early 20s. It was a severe depression. Coolidge and Harding, who he came to Washington with, said, we got to focus on enabling the economy to grow. They didn't say harness the economy. Harness is a little strong. So enabling the economy to grow. The famous Coolidge line is, the chief business of the American people is business. That is where we're going to get benefits. It will be mostly from the private sector. So they pulled the tax rate down Thatcher-wise or Reagan-wise, only more dramatically than Reagan, at least. Top tax rate was over 50%, very European level, down to top marginal rate of 25% for the income tax. And very important too, for the US international rank as an economy, was they pulled the capital gains tax rate down to 12.5%. Capital gains matters a lot. So does corporate tax, as you can see from the discussion this year. So they made it clear that the cap gains rate was 12.5. In economic theory, optimally, it would be even lower. But the very fact that they said cap gains, let it be 12.5, was a good thing for U.S. markets and contributed to the market increases of that period, stock market increases. That was quite an achievement, and it played out in benefits to average Americans. People got cars, the Model T and then the Model A, which came in later. We got, what's the difference between terrible poverty and being working poor? I think all of us agree it's indoor plumbing. That was the decade in which the US more predominantly got indoor plumbing. I rest my case. He was a good president. But we also got electricity, very important for the home. Cut the person at home's work in half overnight. And we got Saturday off because the US worked on Saturday, sometimes only in the morning, more or less until the 20s, when we began to have both Saturday and Sunday off. A very important thing, by the way, for Jewish people, because you no longer had a conflict about going to work.